6.
The CDC released a new eviction ban just 2 days after evictions were allowed to be filed again in Illinois.
The latest moratorium was announced Tuesday as fear and pressure grew over at-risk renters losing their housing during a pandemic. Target 3 investigator Renee Cooper is with us. So, Renee, up until now, the state's moratorium has superseded any federal rules. Does that change here?
Not yet. When it expires September 1st, it appears that's when the CDC's will step into play for another month. The new protection is limited to areas of substantial or high transmission. Right now, that's every county except Jasper in central Illinois. But the counties covered could change based on transmission. I consulted a lawyer who works closely with renters facing eviction. He expects there will be court challenges to the new order. And Champaign County Eviction Court Judge Brett Olmstead says he expects its validity will be taken to a federal court soon. And this is just the latest layer of uncertainty in well over a year of paused evictions. Tonight, I'm going to break down the concerns from every angle, starting at the obvious spot with renters. Giovanna Di Benedetto has a disability that keeps her out of work and on a fixed income.
I have a disabled daughter, and we are currently in a beautiful 2-bedroom townhome. Love it, but due to her health, we really needed a 3-bedroom.
Although her income was not directly impacted by the pandemic, she's known what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck for years.
We needed help to pay our deposit and first month's rent.
That help did come from Cunningham Township.
Before COVID-19, 2/3 of renters in Urbana were rent burdened, which essentially means there may be one paycheck away from dealing with a housing crisis. Since COVID-19, that has skyrocketed.
This is not a pandemic-era problem, but for those living on a low income like Di Benedetto, it changed things from scraping by to impossible to keep up.
When you live on $1,000 a month, $500 for rent, plus extra, 2 growing girls, food, utilities. The bottom line is that we have a crisis in the country.
They're experiencing a lot of harassment from property managers.
Bailey Van Antwerp talks to renters about assistance dozens of times a day from her office at the city of Champaign Township. She says they've helped about 400 households.
But that's a very, very small look at who's been affected, and I would say it's very concentrated towards those who are living in very large complexes, those who have children and are single parents.
Di Benedetto says although the moratorium has made it tougher to find the housing needed for her family, it's necessary.
Bottom line is we're going to have families homeless.
In a conversation with Cunningham Township officials, case manager Kyle Patterson said the effects of the end of the moratorium will be far-reaching.
Schools are obligated by law to provide transportation, so if somebody is at hotels or couch surfing, the school district has to spend money. The court system is going to be completely clogged up. We have a sheriff's department that's, understaffed, and they're going to have to physically enforce these evictions and these notices.
Since Monday, 14 evictions have been filed in Champaign County. We will continue to follow these concerns as the months unfold. Now, if you've been affected by the eviction or the moratorium, we want to hear from you. Email us your tips at target3@wcia.com. And this moratorium has hugely impacted landlords as well. More on that coming up later in the second half of the newscast.
Your local news leader.
The same effort meant to give temporary relief to renters is causing lasting harm for another group.
Some property owners feel like they're getting the brunt of the eviction ban. Target 3 investigator Renee Cooper is back with us tonight. So, Renee, do you know how much the eviction moratorium is costing landlords?
$26.6 billion is the number a nationwide group of landlords is suing the federal government over. The National Apartment Association claims the CDC's pause on evictions is unlawful. Critics here at home say the state's moratorium over the last 16 months has been confusing at best. And although there is anecdotal evidence of landlords being owed thousands in back rent, no one seems to know what the total loss is.
There hasn't been any other profession or industry in the United States during this period that has been required to provide services without pay.
As the president of the Illinois Rental Property Owners Association, Andrew Timms has had a bird's-eye view in watching the effects of the state eviction moratorium unfold. He says, contrary to popular thought, it's not just the small-scale property owners that have been affected.
That's going to hit anybody.
The moratorium was written to cover renters as a last resort.
The governor's orders are often not drafted as well as they ought to be.
Art Mann, a longtime attorney in Urbana, represents landlords on a regular basis. He says it doesn't help that the state's eviction orders change from month to month.
It's not always clear what it takes to comply.
It seems simple enough. Renters will not be evicted if they can sign a declaration form saying they had a loss in income as a direct result of the pandemic and have made every effort to pay. But Mann says checks and balances were left out.
I had a situation where it was very clear to me and my client that the person signed this declaration, but it wasn't true.
Mann says up until a few months ago, landlords and their lawyers couldn't contest a declaration in Champaign County.
It talks about that they were affected by COVID. A lot of the people weren't.
Tim says it's fair to say the moratorium created a free-for-all.
A family in the Metro East area that was making $100,000 between the couple and did continue to have their job just stopped paying rent on their home.
And they got away with it.
What else could be done?
Did you have any suggestions of what might have been a better solution?
Actually, one of our members had an excellent suggestion. Have the federal government buy the debt from the landlords.
In this case, the renter would still have an obligation to pay rent each month and wouldn't be protected from eviction.
I think as an industry nationwide, have shown that we are willing to work with those people who have genuine need. And that didn't start with the pandemic.
Tim says he's heard from a number of property owners who have resorted to selling their properties because of a lack of income. He says that sale is usually at a loss. The Illinois Housing Development Authority doesn't have a program to assist landlords. Now tonight at 10, I'll break down where the millions in rental assistance have gone and if there's been any waste. Back to you.